Hey everybody, how we doing? Let's look at module number one. I like to make these videos to walk you through the modules a little bit, give you kind of heads up of what's going on in the module, maybe give you some tips of what I'll be looking for. I know a lot of times once we get into these things, sometimes you have these questions, right? Well, hopefully this will answer some of those questions before, as you come to them and stuff, and they will answer some of the questions. It'll be a little bit easier for you and quicker to get those answers to help you keep moving forward and to be more successful in the class. Again, you can always reach out to me if you have questions, but I hope that this will answer some of them in advance for you. So let's look at module number one. Module number one is the getting started. And by the way, just as a note, you do have to finish all the orientation materials before you have access to this first module. So if you're trying to get into the first module, if you were trying to get into the first module and it's not letting you, that's probably why. You have to do all the orientation stuff first. So module number one is writing as a conversation. So what we do is we talk about, like, when you and other people, you talk. I have an idea, I give it to you, you take it, you understand it, you internalize it, you form a response, and you give it back, right? And it's a back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. In speaking, we really have a conversation, but you notice here, says writing as a conversation, right? It has it in quotation marks. And what that means then is that we put a thing out there, but we have to anticipate how the audience will react to it, because that's really what we want them to do, right? We put this piece of information out there, but we want to know how they will react. And in a slightly different turn of ways, we are the receiver of the message from somebody else, right? Like somebody else puts something out and we receive that message and we are responding to it, right? And that's what we're really looking at today, to be able to take that message, digest it, and formulate a response to it. So we have our learning, our kind of our tasks for this. There are some different modules and introductions for you to be working at. And then we have the big piece, which will be, there's an exercise with the themes, and then there will be the discussion board to do. So if we take a look at after the tutorials, the first, and those are very self-guided, give you some readings, they'll give you some information, and there may be some activities involved. And then we get into this rhetorically describing a text. And it comes with this slideshow. And rhetorical situation is, this is kind of the background on which a writing was accomplished, right? Like there's all these things that happen in the background before the writing happens. And rhetorically describing the text tries to take a look at those things, right? So we start with the title, obviously. Is there some sort of indication in the title as the tone or the message or how it's going to be portrayed? And then we look at the author. And what do we know about the author, right? Like, what do we know? What is their kind of focus? What is their bias? What is their leaning? What are they trying to accomplish, right? And by getting to know the author, then we get to know a little bit about, this is what he's really trying to say, right? Like, she has this background and this is why she says it this way. Then we look at the forum. Now, I think it's important for you to understand the forum here. Forum is the publication in which the text originally appeared. Okay. It could be an online version, online website. It could be an online publication. It could be a journal entry. It could be a news report, whatever it might be. But the forum is where it first was published. The genre then is what type of writing it is. Now, I know a lot of times people, when they answer this question, and there will be a quiz on this, it says like, oh, it's not really a quiz, it's an exercise, but they'll be like, oh, it's nonfiction. Well, yeah, but what? Like, what type? Was it instructional? Was it, informational, background? Was it persuasive, trying to get people to do things, right? Was it a biography? What was it really trying to do, right? So that genre. Audience, the proposed or the perceived receiver of the message. Who was the author trying to shoot for? And then the purpose. Why did they do this? What were they trying to accomplish? What was the thing that they wanted to happen when the text, when the reader was done with that text? That will get you up to this exercise, getting familiar with the course and the closed research theme. So what we do is we have a topic and a set of readings that you will be using. And they all fall under this broad heading of food and society. What is the role of food in our society and our culture, and what does it say about us? And you think about dieting and nutrition and a lot of these issues that revolve around food, right? That's kind of our broad area of the text that we're going to be using. And so, what this exercise does is get you familiar with that, and also that tries to get you to start thinking rhetorically about texts. Um, that will bring us up to our first classroom discussion. And I do want to spend a minute here just kind of explaining the discussion board. There are two steps to the discussions. The discussion board starts with your initial post. Like we ask you to put up your idea, your belief, your thing, right? Like the response, the thing that we want you to do. There's always going to be you putting something up. And then others are going to respond to you, and you are going to respond to others, right? Some things to think about as you do the discussion post. There'll be some guidelines and some information about what your post and what your reply should be look like. But the big piece that you're really going to need to remember is that the initial post, your first post, is generally due midweek. Okay, somewhere in the middle of the week, we need you to have your post up first. Now, most of the discussion boards, it'll have a deadline of Sunday night. Everything is on Sunday night, right? Um, and that's fine, but you have to put your initial post up early because other people have to have posts to reply to, right? If everybody waited till Sunday night to put their initial posts up, you wouldn't have anything to reply to, or you had to wait until like 11 o'clock to read and post and do your work. And that may not be the best situation for you, right? So you want to put your post up midweek. Generally, Wednesday is when I have those due for you. And then you're going to reply to three other people. But to get the most points, you are going to reply, and it says to three people. You're going to want to reply to more than three, right? To get the most points. If you look at the rubric, the grading rubric, it'll say more than three to get the full points, right? And that you are doing it on different days. The idea of the discussion board is that this is a conversation that you talk and you listen and you react, whatever. Now, it's not that you're replying to the same person over and over and over, right? But that we want to see this progression. Like here's initial post, here's somebody's comment, here's your comment, right? And it just continues that conversation. So the keys to getting the most points are first off following the guidelines as to what the requirements are for your post and your replies, posting more than three, and posting on multiple days, right? So maybe you go on there Friday night, Saturday morning, Saturday evening, right? That you're doing it on multiple times to get the most points. Okay. And that is important for you. Again, I don't want you to feel like, oh, I didn't earn my points. Why not? Well, it's not the quality of your work necessarily. May have great quality work, but you want to get all those points, so you have to do certain things. Let's take a look at the topic that you are going to do, and this one's kind of a fun one. What is the best? How would you explain your writing style? How would you describe your writing style? Right, your writing process. So we have this slideshow. And there's all kinds of just random pictures in there. And the idea is that you pick one in your initial post. Please describe it. If you say slide 7, okay, maybe like on slide 7, for instance, it shows the creek coming out of the mountains. That way people kind of know which picture you're referring to, right? And then you describe how this explains your writing process. Okay. Now, the thing to think about here is that there is no one answer, right? Like for instance, like say post 9, picture number 9, right? Or 8, I'm sorry, 8 is the fireworks. Maybe it's like you see this because you like light this fuse and you have to go, and all of a sudden you just take off, right? That's your writing style. Maybe it's because this is such a difficult process for you, and all of a sudden like, oh, celebration, I did something, right? No matter what it is, the answer isn't as important as how well you explain that, right? And then you want to reply to other people, right? Like you want to think about other people and how you would react to the way they said it. Now, we do want to keep in mind that we want to be respectful of other people. The idea isn't to say, you are good or you're not. Okay. We want to stay out of those personal kind of comments. But we want and be respectful of what people say, right? But we do want you to say, oh, I see what you said because, right? Like, or I agreed with you because of this, right? Or when I looked at that picture, I saw whatever, right? So again, we want to stay out of the personal attacks, but it is okay to discuss these things, right? It's not just a, oh, I saw that too. Good job. You talk about those things, right? Just in a very mature, responsible way. And then that brings us to the end. And each of our modules ends with this next step, kind of is that transition. And it asks you to reflect on, okay, here's what I got, right? Thinking about this idea of conversation, because you're going to be responding to text moving forward, right? And this idea of conversation, being able to see, okay, here's what I saw and here's why I saw it. Here's what I took out of it, right? And so being able to kind of reflect on that process will really help you out moving forward. As always, I want to remind you, just if you need anything, please reach out to me. Again, you have that contact information. Email is always the best way because I'm in and out and around a lot of times. I'm always around internet, I think, but that way I can just kind of respond to you, send that information back to you, right? So email is always the best way to get a hold of me. If you also, it's really good because if you have like, can you look at this, or am I doing this correctly, right? I can see that right in front of you. Anytime you do contact me, whether it's text message, whether it's email, whatever, please give me some indication of who you are and what it is you are needing, right? Like if you call me up and say, hey, I have a question about this week's assignments, I will answer those questions for you. Okay. I will get back with you and I will answer those questions. But if you say, I have a question about the discussion board and what I need to be writing about, then I can kind of have a better answer in mind. Or maybe if there's like, want me to look at something, I can have that when I get back with you. Right. So anytime you can give me some additional information to help me get ready, the better it is. Right. So please reach out if you need anything. Please make sure that if you get stuck, you have questions, you're not sure about what to do, you reach out. I do want you to be successful in this class, but I believe that this is a great way to get started. I believe this first module is a nice running start to the class, and I'm excited to see what you guys do. Good luck, everybody.